In the next edition of It's About Money, my guests will be Trisha Isaman and Johanna Lopez. They are home equity conversion mortgage counselors with the Housing Council at Pathstone. Join us for the next edition of It's About Money and learn more about reverse mortgages. Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nanette Nokan and thank you for joining us. Today I'm thrilled to have our guests Trisha Isaman and Johanna Lopez. They are home equity conversion mortgage certified counselors with the Housing Council at Pathstone. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
I'm very excited about having you because there's so much question about reverse mortgages and lots of interesting information with the increasing value of homes. So I know that you have lots of good information to share. Can you tell me about what a reverse mortgage is? There's a lot of question about that. What is reverse mortgages?
A reverse mortgage is a loan product that's available to people 62 and over, and you can borrow against the equity in your home, and it doesn't require a payment until a later time, and that time would be when the borrower permanently leaves the property.
Okay, so that's either through death or leaving
Or
another
selling.
way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, or selling, got it.
But while the borrower lives in the property, there's no payment that needs to be made.
I see. And can it be more than one borrower? Can it be a couple?
Yes, it can be a
Okay.
couple.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So it's really living in the house with no payments.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. How is the reverse mortgage loan different from a traditional mortgage?
Well, I think Joanna touched on that a little bit, where you do not have to make a monthly payment. And a traditional mortgage, you're earning equity in the home as you make your payments on a monthly basis. A reverse mortgage, the balance increases, so the equity decreases as time goes on.
So the only other time is if the value of the home is increasing, presumably the value of the equity also goes up. But that's predicated on a rising home valuation.
Exactly.
Got it. Along that line, the homeowner is still responsible for the other costs, right?
Yes. So the homeowner is still responsible for all the upkeep and maintenance. Their property taxes have to be paid on time. They have to have homeowners insurance that's paid on time as well.
And the upkeep, like you said, repair bills and
Yes.
the roof and the
Right.
furnace and all sorts of things like that. What sort of clients or applicants might consider a reverse mortgage? When is it appropriate to have that?
Seniors who are looking to stay in their home, who may need a little bit of extra income, or they want to pay off an existing mortgage loan and not have to make that monthly payment. So it is a way to generate income from your property that you already live in. Sometimes you can get like monthly payments or a line of credit to have access to those funds.
Okay, so basically, if your cash flow is a little short, you don't, and the mortgage relief would make that cash flow better,
Yes.
and spend it for rising food costs, like we're seeing in inflationary times these days, right? Or maybe vacation or repair on the house or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, and then I understand that in the last several years, the reverse mortgage can also be used to make a property purchase. Right?
Yes.
And is that still called a reverse mortgage? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's called HECM for purchase.
Okay.
So someone can do that, so they can get a reverse mortgage on part of their purchase, but they would have to come in with the other funding to complete the whole purchase amount.
I see. So if someone's buying, it depends on their age, right?
62 and older.
Oh, 62 and older. And the older the person, for the same value of the home, the less they have to put down, the older they are. Is that how the
Right,
general formula
so
works?
yes, so reverse mortgage, so that starts at age 62, so that's going to be the least amount of equity that you have access to. But as the person ages and they're interested in a reverse mortgage, they'll have access to a little more equity than as if they were 62.
All right. So someone who, for the same property value, who is 80 years old, will require less of a down payment
Correct,
than someone
yes.
who's 62.
Yes.
And if a couple is applying, whose age, and if there's a difference in age, whose age is it considered?
The age of the youngest borrower.
The youngest borrower. So it doesn't help to have a younger spouse.
It does not.
Not in this situation.
Okay. And then can they play tricks like, okay, married to someone younger, but let me just be the applicant because I'm the older spouse?
No, because it depends on who's going to live in the property and if it's a marriage. Once that older spouse, if they do pass away, the spouse has the right to remain in the property. So depending on their age, there is a chart that goes all the way from like 18 years old up to 100, and it will help determine how much the lender can allow the borrower to take out of the equity of the property. But if your significant other is younger, it's going to be less money, but they do have the right to remain in the home if the actual borrower passes away. So it could be just a spouse. They don't necessarily have to be on the loan, or they can both be on the loan, but it'll always be the age of the youngest borrower.
Got it. So if they're not, so if they did not, so if someone married after taking the loan, the spouse can still remain in the house, or do they have to be on the same mortgage
They don't have to be on the mortgage. They can remain in the property,
as long as they were married?
but they would have to keep up with the taxes, the homeowner's insurance, and the property upkeep.
Got it. Okay, that sounds great. What would you say are some of the disadvantages of a reverse mortgage? Talk about the advantage of the cash flow and things like that.
I would say if someone is only looking to stay in the home for a couple more years, they know they maybe they want to move down south in 3 years. It's very cost heavy up front, so that may not be the best option for them. Also, if their goal is to leave the home to the family, it could get to a point where there's no equity, and then the family would have to pay off the reverse mortgage. So if that's not financially feasible, the family would maybe not be able to keep the home after the borrower passed away.
I see. Can you unpack that for me a little bit? When you said pay off the home equity, will there be a time where the family has to come up with any money at all to pay off the loan?
If they want to keep the home.
Got it.
So they either have to come up with the value, a percentage of the value, I should say, a percentage of the value, which is almost 100%, a percentage of the value, or whatever the loan is, so whichever is less.
I got it. So if they wanted to maintain ownership, they have to come up with the difference. But then if it's sold and the loan value is more,
they don't have to come out of their pocket with anything. They wouldn't have to pay anything. That's what they're paying. So the borrower's paying into an insurance fund through HUD, and that protects them from ever owing more than what the house is worth. So even if the balance exceeds what the house is worth, they'll never have to pay that.
okay, and that's a very important point because I think a lot of
Yes.
people are worried about that when
Yes.
you say reverse mortgage, like, oh, how much will I owe at the end? You know?
Right.
And a lot of people are frightened. So okay, so there's is that PMI? Is that the private mortgage insurance, or is it called something
Well,
else?
MIP.
Oh, MIP.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
HUD's MIP.
I see, and that's mortgage insurance
Premium.
Premium.
Yes.
Got it. How does MIP?
Basically the same thing.
Okay, got it. But they call it differently.
Yes.
Different acronym. Thank you for straightening me out on that one. Are there any other disadvantages that you could think of for having a reverse mortgage? So it's heavy because of the application fees,
Right.
and things like
Closing
that.
costs.
And the closing costs.
The upfront fee, the longer you have the reverse mortgage, the less expensive it is. And they do project you to live to a certain age. And if your property is appreciating every year, that's wonderful. You're able to preserve some equity. If it's not, your loan balance is growing every single month, and it's compounded interest. So you're paying, the loan balance plus the interest that accrued the month before, and you're not paying it monthly as if you were paying a forward mortgage, but it is accruing on the balance of the loan. So at the end, when you're ready to settle up, whether the borrower wants to move out of the property or they pass away, there may be little to no equity left in the property.
Got it. Okay. So really, for the ability to live there without a mortgage payment, what you're giving up is the potential equity on the house. So it's not a free lunch.
Exactly.
Either you make the payments and have equity,
Right.
or you don't make the payments, have less equity.
Right.
So the upside or the opportunity is in a rising market value on the house if that continues. In at least now we're talking 2023, and that's been happening.
Right.
So great. Okay, that's really good. So if someone wanted to get a reverse mortgage, what are the steps that they have to take to do that?
Sure. So typically, most have done some research. I would say that would be your first step, is do some research. There's, documents and booklets out there that explains everything about a reverse mortgage. So do a little bit of research. And typically, you're going to speak to a reverse mortgage lender just to kind of get an idea of, what your options are. Then they come to us. So we'll do a counseling session with them, make sure they understand what a reverse mortgage is, what they're getting into, and then they'll go back to the lender. So they'll do their appraisal at that point and figure out how much the house is worth, and then they go through, the underwriting and then closing process on the loan.
Got it. And it's required by the government to go through your organization, right? It's a requirement.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And is there a cost to go through the classes or go through your organization? It's a requirement, right? So
Yes. So we do charge a $125 fee. In some circumstances that can be waived, but it is $125.
Okay. And it's required, and I think it should be because there's a
Yes.
lot to it, and it's
Right.
required to. And before the show began, we talked about it. And is it per person, or is that fee like for the couple, and can they invite other interested
Yes.
parties too?
Yes, so it's
Yep,
just
the
for the
fee is for
session.
that. Yeah, the one session, they can invite whoever they would like to. Some people invite their financial advisors or family members, just so that everyone has an understanding of what's happening or what could happen with the reverse mortgage, all the features, the positives, the negatives. So our role wouldn't be to say, oh, this is a great product for you, just to make sure that you have an understanding of what it is. The counseling session can be like 1 to 2 hours long.
I see. And a counseling session is one-on-one, or is that a big class with a lot of people?
One-on-one.
I see.
Because everyone's situation is different. Everyone's going to have unique questions. When they come to us, they do have some loan estimates from the bank already. So we can go through those numbers and explain what they are,
I see.
just to make sure that they have an understanding of what they're getting into. If they decide to pursue the reverse mortgage, sometimes they'll take the counseling session and decide maybe this is not for me, or they'll get into the counseling session and say, oh, I do like this product. I think it would work for our family.
I see. Okay, that's great. That's wonderful that it's one-on-one, so people can have the freedom to ask the specific questions about their situation and feel that it's private, and they don't have to feel embarrassed to ask the questions. And how wonderful that they could bring an entourage of people, all the children that might be interested. So that's great, and it's nice that it can be done. So there's many communities that are served by. Are there many different offices for Pathstone for the Housing Council in?
No, we just have one office. We're located in the city of Rochester, 75 College Avenue. So if someone is interested in an appointment, we're scheduling those via phone. We can schedule them to come in person. They just need to be scheduled ahead of time.
Got it. All right. We're going to take a little break. It's very interesting, and I'm so happy that you're explaining the process of reverse mortgages, because it's in a lot of people's minds, or they've heard about it, but there's a lot of misconceptions, you know. So thank you, Tricia Eisman and Joanna Lopez. We'll be right back in a few seconds.
Sometimes people with disabilities feel invisible.
Would she like some coffee or tea?
Hi, I'll have tea, please. Thank you. I think this is yours, but everyone should receive the same respect and consideration. Can I get the door for you?
Oh my, yes, thank you.
Happy to help. Brought to you by the United Spinal Association. To learn more, download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
And we're back. I'm Nanette Nocon. Thank you for rejoining us. My guests today are Tricia Eisman and Joanna Lopez, and they are HECM certified counselors with the Housing Council at Pathstone. Thank you again to both of you for being here. So thank you for sharing a lot of information about reverse mortgages. I know that's in many seniors' mind to be able to continue staying at their own home. So tell me about what is your part in assisting clients with reverse mortgages? What role do you play?
We make sure that they have the education piece. So we make sure that they're understanding the features of the reverse mortgage, long-term, short-term, that it is a rising debt, falling equity loan, and what the loan balance may look like as the years go on. We do encourage them to shop around, compare interest rates, compare origination costs, just like you would with a forward mortgage. So we just want to make sure that the senior has an understanding of the loan product before they commit to it.
Got it. And it's different products from for every lender might have a different version, or is it standard version for?
It's a standard loan product, but they could offer different interest rates
Aha, okay.
and different origination fees.
Got it. So it's educating them on
Right.
what's that.
Right.
And earlier we talked about the different kinds where you could take a lump sum, extract a lump sum
Yes.
from the property, or you could take a monthly payout, right?
Or also a line of credit. So they, like a home equity line of credit kind of works like that. And actually that product grows at the same interest rate that the loan balance grows. So you may have access to more equity than you originally started with, depending on how often you take the funds out of the line of credit.
I see. And as you also get older, right? So if I open one up at 62,
Yes.
and I don't touch it, and I'm 82,
Right.
I could probably have more.
Right, exactly,
Okay.
because it's going to be compounding interest that's added to that loan balance over time.
Got it. Got
And
it.
you can do a combination too, so you can do monthly payments and a line of credit. So there are options, and you can change your preference throughout the loan term. The only one you can't change is lump sum. Once you commit to that fixed rate lump sum, you get that cash at closing, and then that's it.
Got it. But there's an opportunity to refinance. So if someone got a loan that's lump sum at a higher interest rate, when they're older or interest rates went down, they might also be able to refinance, right?
Yes.
If
And
they have
hopefully,
equity, yep.
yeah, and property values go up if the right combination of things
the
happen.
right things happen. Yes, there could be an opportunity to refinance it and get access to more equity.
But they would have to pay the same kind of cost
Correct.
for,
Yes.
like any other mortgage.
Yes, and they would
all
have to
those-
do the counseling again
I see.
to make sure that they understand the product still.
Okay. And then as far as upfront costs, there's the cost of the education piece. Is there anything else that the homeowner has to come up with in terms of costs?
Yep, the appraisal fee.
I
So
see.
that's the only thing that they'll have to come out of pocket with. Everything else is added into the loan balance.
I see. So it's pretty reasonable. So if a homeowner wants to utilize a reverse mortgage, it's affordable, if you will, in
Right.
terms of out of pocket. So, okay, got it. So why is the counseling required in order to have a reverse mortgage? Why did HUD require that? Why does it require it?
It's a complicated product. So in addition to understanding the product, we also go over alternative options just to make sure that they've thought about, are you staying here long term? Are you only staying here for a couple years, understanding that it's more expensive if they only stay there for a couple years? Also, are they physically going to be able to handle the home in a few years? Are they going to be able to navigate the stairs? We actually have to go over that information just to make sure that this makes sense for them long term. And just for them to think about, is this the best option for me in my situation?
Or are there other options to access that equity in the home? And then we are third party. We're not affiliated with the mortgage company. We're not there to tell them, oh, this is a great offer they're giving you. We're there strictly for the customer, just to make sure that they have an understanding and they have the information to make the best choice for their family.
Right, right. And it's great so that since it's a requirement, they can't really proceed with borrowing money without going through the education process.
Right.
So that's good. They can't really have recourse and say, I didn't know about that.
Right, exactly.
So,
Can't
okay.
waive the counseling.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so glad for that because it's, like you said, a very complex product.
Yes.
And they need to understand. And I love that people in their family, potential heirs, right, who may be concerned about what they would get in the future or not have in the future. It's good to have the understanding so they're not, the adult owner of the house is not berated or have
Right.
potential second thoughts about having gone through
Exactly.
what they did. Yes.
And we actually test them in the counseling session to make sure that they understood. So they do have to answer a certain amount of questions correctly. So we answer questions throughout the counseling session to ensure that they're understanding the information that we're providing to them.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
it helps us to gauge, because we won't do like a test at the end. It'll just be throughout the counseling session. And if we ask the question and they're not sure, we can review that portion of the counseling session. And then we can ask again to see if they understood.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because you don't want them to be just kind of blanking out of you talking.
Right. Right.
You want them to really gain full understanding and be able to explain it to somebody else.
Exactly.
Right, right. Now, earlier you talked about getting information like from the website, brochures, and things like that. So there are government sites that they could really go into, right?
Yep.
Such as HUD, right?
HUD, National Coalition of the Aging, has a booklet that we actually send out to folks that are interested in the reverse mortgage when we send out the paperwork. So that is a booklet, a good booklet to read, explains the reverse mortgage and the benefits and the product itself.
Okay, so someone can access to the internet or they can make a phone call. Would you mind, may I ask for your phone number so for the office?
Yeah,
Of course.
Yes, and then we could put that on the screen so this way we can have our viewers see that and then they
Yes.
can call and request for the brochure. Some people are not, they don't have the access to the internet or
Right.
not, a little more difficult. So, and can you explain what is, after the counseling happens, what is the next step that occurs after they went through the counseling and you have you've determined that they have understanding of a good understanding of what the process is about? What happens next?
So we'll issue them their certificate, which is good for 6 months. They can use it at any lender.
Okay.
And we make sure we let the borrower know that's their property. All of the lenders are going to want it. It has value. So they just hold on to it as they weigh their decision. And then when they're ready to commit, they can give the lender that certificate to start the application process for the reverse mortgage loan. And then our office does follow up with the customer 60 days thereafter just to see how things are going, if they did apply for a reverse mortgage or not.
I see.
And we remain available if they have questions throughout the process.
Got it. So really, if they take it, they have to they have to get a reverse mortgage within 6 months. Otherwise, they have to retake it. Because they
Redo
might
the
forget.
counseling,
Redo the
yes.
counseling, yes, all
Yes.
right, okay. So that's important to know.
exactly.
Really educate yourself and kind of time it in a way
Right.
that you
Yes.
want to, otherwise you repay the cost of having to
Exactly.
go through the course, yes, okay, that's important. So tell me the type of housing that this applies to. Is it just single-family homes, or what type of housing can a reverse mortgage be applied towards? Or maybe that's a moot point. Is it any type of
Well,
housing?
it's not necessarily. It can get complicated depending if someone lives in like a HOA community. There has to be they have to be HUD approved, so that does get complicated. But typically, 1 to 4 family has to be owner occupied. But there is a possibility that someone that lives in like a townhome could also get a reverse mortgage as well.
I see. Okay, so townhome or single family is the straightforward one, but it has to be
Yes.
HUD approved, which is the
Right.
important part.
Yes.
And what does HUD approved mean?
Well, the complex itself goes through some sort of approval process. I'm not sure all the ins and outs, but they do go through some sort of HUD approval process if there's HUD lending that's done in the community, I believe.
I see. So condominium or townhouse
Yes.
or something
I'm not
like
an
that.
expert in that area.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, okay, all right, got it. So it depends if it's a multi-housing unit.
Yes.
It needs to be confirmed that there's a HUD. Got it. Okay.
yes.
So it's not just like something that you could do. Yes.
right.
Earlier you had mentioned about co-ops, so that's a different kind of setup. Like not in Rochester, there are no co-ops, but then in a place like New York City or bigger cities, there are co-ops.
Yeah,
that-
so in January, the state has allowed co-ops to enter into reverse mortgage loans. So those are a little more complex. The board does need to provide approval. There are only certain lenders that do that kind of loan, but the same type of counseling is required. So before they can move forward with the application, they do have to be counseled in that particular product.
I see. So the board of the co-op itself
Yes.
needs to approve it, but the state of New York has. And this reverse mortgage, home equity conversion mortgage, is a federal program, but then the state has to play a role in it. Is that right?
So the home equity conversion mortgage is backed by HUD.
Okay.
There are other reverse mortgages that you could obtain that are not backed by the HUD insurance. So those would have different features. They may have greater lending limits because when we're talking about co-ops in New York City, we're talking about 1.5 million, 3 million, where HUD has lending restrictions.
Got it. Okay, got it. So it's a little different market altogether.
Yes.
It's a
Not the
different
kind of
animal.
housing that we have in
Yeah, so
Rochester.
typically we're seeing here would be the HUD-backed reverse mortgages.
Got it. Okay, that I see that. Thank you so much. And how have you found? Do you ever ask like, how did you find out about reverse mortgages? I wonder how people find out about reverse mortgages when they apply. It's just kind of word of mouth or probably television advertisement. I wonder. Like a lot of
Both.
Both? Okay. Yes. So as a financial advisor, I bring it up to some clients where it's appropriate, when there's, in some cases, it really makes a lot of sense to use it, but not all the time, right? So, but whether it's income tax implications, that it's better to not have access to distribute too much money out of the retirement plan to pay the mortgage payments and that kind of thing, Often people ask, if I want to buy this house and I can only afford to take this much money, how much of a house can I buy if they're looking at a place that's more expensive? Is there some sort of reference material that can be looked at, how much someone can afford based on their age, or is that something that they have to contact a lender to find out?
I mean, there's basic calculators online.
Okay.
So they could kind of get an understanding of how much they could get from a reverse mortgage. So then you would subtract that amount from the purchase price if they were looking to purchase a home, and then they would have to come up with the difference. But it's going to be a very general, gauge. So really it's best to speak to a lender that's going to kind of give you more of an idea of what exactly you can afford before you go shopping.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, because pricing in the area in Rochester, New York is prices are going up, but then if you go to a more expensive area,
Right.
where maybe children are living, in order to afford,
Right.
using a reverse mortgage as a down payment for the
Yeah.
house might be a good solution. You know what I mean? So, but okay, so the lender is the best place to find out what kind of value that down payment they can have in order to purchase a home. So great. You guys, both of you, Tricia and Joanna, you've been very helpful in helping our viewers learn more about reverse mortgages. Really very important information. So thank you for what you do. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And for sharing with us today.
I did want to add one more thing that we didn't touch on. The proceeds from a reverse mortgage are never considered income, so it's not taxable.
Oh, very important.
So
Okay.
that's something that I think the community should know.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. So thank you, Tricia Isman and Joanna Lopez. Really appreciate both of you being a part of our program today. And both of them are HECM, that's Home Equity Conversion Mortgage Certified Counselors with the Housing Council at Pathstone. So thank you. And thank you, our viewers, for joining us at It's About Money. I'm Nanette Nokan. Until next time.